Hey hiker family, this is Corey. Trail name not yet decided or found. So some of you will know me from some other videos I've put up already in the class of 2018 and 19 pages. But I wanted to put together a bit of a introduction and boilerplate video, as there's a couple different series of videos I wanted to put up as a resource for the thru hiker community across a couple different spectrums. And because it is both a medical and fitness basis, I wanted to put boilerplate that talks a little bit about me and what I do, as well as the obvious disclaimers. That way I don't have to, in every single video, talk at length on those topics. And so the basic introduction is, I'm not a thru hiker yet. Yesterday, my wife and I got our permits for the PCT for 2019, so in a few months I will be a actively aspiring thru hiker on the PCT. But in my daily life, which is where I am, my office, I run a mixed private practice where I work in the physical medicine, physical rehab space, as well as I still work as an active personal trainer. And I take on everything from weight loss, bodybuilding, to athletes, and my favorites, functional training and endurance work, which is more my specialties, along with movement therapy, traditional physical medicine as you'd expect to see it from, say, a physical therapist, and then some really fun exotic stuff from Guillain-Barré to really hard to treat nerve pain, and basically anything you'd see a physical therapist for. I'm not a physical therapist. My most useful title is neurokinetic therapist, which is frustrating because it takes like a 10-minute conversation to really explain what it is I do. But I wanted to give a short rundown of that, and then talk about my intentions and just our brief disclaimer stuff. And so to make a really short introduction of what I do, we have this like cultural knowledge that gets tossed around where we go, well, you know, as you age, you lose flexibility, or you're sitting at a desk, so your muscle is getting shorter, and people get these mysterious pains or arthritis, and they just think it's part of aging. And traditional physical medicine goes, well, it happens when you age, let's give you some stretches and give you some strengthening stuff, and that's just about it. There's definitely some good people doing much more complex, much more appropriate work, but you know, that's generally how we view things as a society and a lot of how it gets treated. And the simple bit at the end of the day is that that's not how it works. You may have a muscle that is functionally too long, too short, too taut, too loose, too strong, too weak. But these are all reductive symptoms. It's like saying your leg hurts. Well, yeah, but we don't just give you a pain pill and say, okay, that's it. Well, okay, a lot of times we do. But we don't want you to stop there. We want to go, well, what's actually causing the pain? Is it a muscle ache? Is it a tendon inflammation? Do you have actual bone-on-bone joint damage going on? Which a lot of times that doesn't even hurt, believe it or not. But basically, we want to track down what's actually causing the pain. But then you sit there and go, okay, so my back hurts because of this mechanical thing, like you have a disc that's popped out or something. Well, let's not use that example. Let's just say you have shin splints. Here's something a little bit more applicable. So your shin splint, there's your hurt. You have an inflammation of the muscle on your shin of some kind. But we don't just go, okay, that's your problem. And so, well, why did that pop up in the first place? There's some way the body was functioning that led the work you put through it, even if you were just running a few miles a week, that gave you that. But there's still a reason why that change in how the body worked gave it a weakness of sorts that let that happen on as an end result. And most of how we approach physical medicine is we just treat this, or if we're good, we treat the compensation. But we're usually not treating the reason why the body had to react to that compensation, and then we had this end result. And a lot of the time, someone will come in and the reason for their actual symptom is pretty far removed from the area of their pain. And again, it takes like a good 10 minutes or more to actively describe what I really do and how the physiology works, because it takes a physiology-based discussion of the neuroanatomy, the neurophysiology really, of why the body does this. But the really short side of it is when your body feels threatened, and I don't just mean you're scared or something, I mean the body feels like it has something to protect against, it changes how it operates with the body, how it uses the parts. It's going to change your spinal alignment. It's going to compress a joint. It's going to go, well, we tore the labrum in here, so a part of your joint capsule. There's so much leverage up here at this angle that even the tiniest weight or even just my own movement could injure that further. So the body will unconsciously go, we're taking away your flexibility. You don't have the range to do that anymore. And in a really acute case, we could call that frozen shoulder. And typically they're going to give you 9 to 18 months to let that resolve, and there's not much they do about it. Whereas neurologically, we can take care of that pretty quick as long as the joint damage is resolved, because the body's changing how it operates to protect itself. And so again, if I fall and damage my labrum, and the compensation is a severe restriction in position and how I can move that shoulder, and now I'm getting pain up in the neck or just on the shoulder, there's a 3-tiered thing that I was talking about, and we approach it. We don't just give someone stretches or strengthening exercises, because that just treats that first tier issue. And so the simple way of putting it is that the brain is the thing controlling things. It goes, how should I be aligning the body? How should I be using it? You don't actually lose muscle length when you lose flexibility. That's one of those reductive simplifications that is just entirely wrong, whereas some it's just a little bit inaccurate. It gives you a bad idea of how things actually work. It doesn't actually work that way. And so we basically get to, through my specialty, we get to work directly with the brain to go, okay, this is why you're doing this cascade of events. Let's deal with that neurologically, which just means we put in some stimulation, some input neurologically, no tools or anything, it's just a physical skill set. And we change how the brain decides to use the body. And as soon as you have a joint that, say, instead of being right there in good contact and having a dozen muscles controlling it, it's been slid over this way, it's been pushed that way, a lot of force going in a small area and only a couple muscles doing their jobs, that's going to cause some wear and pain. Whereas once we tell the brain, okay, we can go back to normal factory setting, things get way, way better. And most of the time we just get to deal with the reasons things happen, so we get to permanently deal with an issue. So there's way more to talk about the physiology and what we do, but the part that's pertinent to all of you is that for most issues, to deal with that big, that top tier issue, I have to have the person in front of me. I have to see how their body is getting from that to here. I can't give you that over a video, but I can put out some videos that talk about some general catch-all bits of self-care homework that may be able to make a big impact in that first tier or two, that they're not going to fix the issue, but while you're having to do 20 to 30 miles a day no matter what, it's going to help you with symptoms and help you with stability, decrease injury chance, just increase your chance that you get to Canada or whatever trail you happen to be on. It's not going to take the place of seeing someone, and the obvious bit is when you're worried about something, get it checked out. I'm going to give you some homework to try. Give it a try. If it helps, awesome. If it doesn't help, sorry, we just got to give you an umbrella and see if it worked. And if it somehow makes it worse, then extra consider seeing someone and stop doing the homework. I've had a through hiker just for the 2018 class where we got to go, I think you broke your fibula, which is the small bone on the side of your lower leg instead of the shin bone. And so I had to tell her, go get some x-rays and see, because that might be it for you, sorry. And so sometimes even pains that don't seem that bad can be something serious like that. So I'm going to give you some homework for different regions of the body, different potential things we see a lot, and just use sense with it. But I'll get to my boilerplate in a minute. Kind of getting back on topic, that's basically what we do, that's what I want to do. So we're going to put together some videos where it's okay. We're going to talk about plantar fasciitis, similar foot and ankle junk, shin splints, and see what we can do with that region. So we're going to give you some self-care homework, some general instructions, and you can give it a go. And for a lot of people, that makes a profound difference in their through hike. It's been fun the last few years working on through hikers as they come through Cascade Locks and just wherever else we happen to see them while we're on the PCT in Oregon. So we're going to give you a list of some of those options for the most common repetitive stress injuries, like the whole plantar fasciitis, shin splints, IT band syndrome, and some other stuff that I see a lot in through hikers. Especially just, here's knee stuff, let's see what we can do about it. And it's going to cover the most common stuff, and we'll see what we can do for you. So that's going to be one series and kind of the most involved one. Like I said, if there's something that I specialize in the performance world, it's functional training, which basically means let's get you in the real world and make sure your body can deal with it without injury, even though you're not just on concrete and you're not just throwing a football. You're doing something more dynamic that is constantly changing, and you have to be able to apply your strength, endurance, whatever, to a changing context. So basically through hiking, and on the other side, endurance work. The functional working, I can kind of give some stuff for people to do that will add some degree of depth to their movement and will give them some better performance and less likely to be injured out on the trail. But really, one of the bigger things on that side I can offer is endurance training, because especially as through hikers, we're looking at full day, multi-hour endurance, and then shorter pitches of higher intensity, like I have to go up Mather Pass, that's going to be a bit steep. And being able to have the endurance for that makes a huge difference, especially because the less energy it takes, the more efficient it is, the lower calories you potentially need, as well as, well, the less tired you are, the less likely you're to be injured, and the more you're going to enjoy it. You want to work for it, but it's more endurance better. But because that we don't have a wide, complex range of endurance we really need, it's actually really simple to give you a training program that you can do on your own with minimal technical instruction and just a few videos that will see you guys the rest of your training to the PCT at this point, at least if you're going on 2019. And so we're going to put together a video series for that as well. And they have a few particular techniques we go over, like I did put up a cable walk exercise, just because it's a little bit more unique. But mostly those are the different video series that I want to put out for you guys. So that's a general intent, and that's a little bit more about me in general and what I do. And so I'm really open to questions from all of you, because it's some pretty specific stuff when it comes to the kind of training we're doing. Like, again, it's kind of broad in a fashion. You're just walking all day, and there's going to be some steepness. But working with the thru hiker community for a few years, it's been a wide range of injuries and a lot of pains that people have had that sometimes are really unique, specific stuff that has been, as a practitioner, fun to work with. But it's stuff that I can potentially either give you some info on, some ideas of what to do, but usually more importantly, for the more severe stuff, connect you with someone that has an appropriate skill set before you get on trail. And so training-wise as well, I'm happy to talk about that. A lot of the traditional lifting exercise I'm not going to talk a whole lot about, because it takes such more of a technical competence to do that well, and without being able to work with someone in person, you know, I'll talk about it with questions, but I don't really like putting up videos because it's too complex to do through a video in a not necessarily safe way. So I'm just going to kind of leave it at that, where if you want to ask questions, go for it. I'll talk about anything that we can. But to wrap up this video, it is the disclaimer time. I'm not a physician. I am not your therapist. I don't know your situation unless we've talked. And without seeing someone in person, I can only basically give my best opinion and thoughts and give someone some ideas and some education, or just some stuff to look into more themselves. So as always with this kind of stuff, you know better, but we have that kind of society where it's we gotta say so. Anything that I give you as an idea of what to do, you have to use at your discretion. If you have a condition, if you have problems that might interfere with it, that you have any doubt about, see a practitioner about it, get cleared, make sure things are okay and appropriate for you to do. So I just can't decide that for you. So this is essentially going to be the disclaimer I'm going to use for all the rest of the videos. I'm going to go, hey, go look at that video, watch it through once, put up with my rambling on just boilerplate topics, and go from there. So if any of these topics sound of interest to you, stick around, subscribe, and there's going to be a bunch of videos. I've had some people request certain specific things from me that I'm trying to get to. Trying to do a whole bunch in a row right now today, and we'll see what we can get through while I have time. But it just means questions, requests, let me know. This is just a free service to try to give something back to the community that's already given me so much before I've even started through hiking. So, with that, it just means please be respectful, but let me know if you got questions and anything I can help you with. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.